Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? This is Erick here for Faster Human. Here, brand new episode today, and so we're gonna dive in very quick for the brand new people. I'm pretty sure you have seen previous episodes and you listen to the previous episodes, but today, let's just go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning of humankind being super simple about the things that basically we enjoy on a constant basis. We're going to talk about a little bit of traditions and so on and so forth. So, how much our food has changed in the past 50 years? Let's just go back a little bit 50 years from now. And what is the difference between traditional foods and what that we constantly consume on a daily basis, right? So, traditional foods, I'm just gonna give an example. I'm Peruvian. Our food traditionally is made right from scratch. There's nothing preserved or nothing necessarily in a can, and most of the stuff is actually done all from scratch. But the most important thing that I explain to a lot of people is how much as our food has changed, especially traditional wise, in 1,000 years. And the reason being I'm asking this question is because a lot of people, when they are trying to lose the weight, right? And we have a huge problem in our hands right now as we speak with our health and overall all around the world. It's not just the United States, it's all around the world where we have a huge problem with type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension, and so on and so forth. And so when we look back 40 years ago, we didn't have or 50, let's go about 60 years ago, we didn't have the problem that we have now in our healthcare system. And the reason being why I say this is because, for anybody who is suffering from all these, diseases and like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension, you name it, it's been happening this for a specific time frame because the diseases that we have to deal with now are basically reversible. And it seems like, and I'm watch this and I constantly listen to it and I constantly basis, it sounds like there's no fixing to it. The question is like, well, if you've been taking high blood pressure medication for a specific amount of years, has it been helping you at all and you're still overweight? Have you changed your eating habits? Or have you changed your, activity level? Have you changed any of that? Because the thing about it is, it's almost like they give you medication and they want to continue giving medication again and again, more medication for it. I get it. It might help a little bit to try to fix the problem, but an overall idea is to be able to be off those problems in the long term. In the long term, because at the end of the day, I was overweight myself, for example, right? I was 240 pounds. I was trying to lose the weight. I was trying to make sure that that I was exercising and eating 5 to 6 meals per day. Probably in some way or another kind of helps, but not in a long term, not in a sustainable term. And especially as we age, our bodies is changing, and you're in your 30s, probably you can be able to eat, small meals. Yes, I get it. But then as you hit your 40s, your body changes again. And when you hit your 50s, and I see these happening every single day when I see clients and, everybody has a specific time frame. So what I come to my personal journey and conclusion is that you are going to have to make dramatic changes in your lifestyle, but have to be progressively small. Now, traditional foods hasn't changed in 1,000. Let's just go back 1,000 years. Traditional food hasn't changed. What has changed is the process, is the way we consume processed foods, especially sugars. And most of the 90%, if you go to a grocery store, 99.7% of the foods that is available there has contained a specific amount sugars and the amount of carbohydrates and the amount of the processed foods and the amount of the things that are preventing us from having something healthy. So we have to make choices about what the foods that we provide in a constant basis, because at the end of the day, we have to still eat. Yeah, but how much of the consumption and how much of your lifestyle is it needs to be changed. So maybe you're a person who works all day long, crazy schedule, and you're trying to make sure that you'll be able to relax and enjoy a meal. And that's the most important thing to me. When I see this kind of schedules, crazy schedules and stuff like that, my recommendation is going to be for you to be able to make sure that you have an eating pattern that needs to be consistent, and and making sure that you're not eating super late in a constant basis. So because at the end of the day, what it will have an impact in your body because of eating late, because you're constantly making sure that you are taking care of the body in the long term. Because one of the things that I notice a lot is like, man, should I be eating 2, 3, 4, 5 meals the same way when I'm fasting, or should I not? Well, let's talk about a little bit about the most important thing is your insulin. You guys spike it. You got it. We need that insulin anyhow. And at the end of the day, it's the elephant in the room, right? And so is that is necessary for us to be able to digest and be able to make sure that we are necessarily satisfied with the food that we eat within 2 hour windows, 3 hour windows, 4 hour windows. But the lesser amount of window that you have, the body responds better in a long term. What I was explaining in regards of the fasting protocols is because at the end you need that protein, you need the essential fats, you need the consistency of making sure you're eating properly still, and so there's gonna be days when you're gonna have to, kind of sort of give yourself a break from eating, less carbohydrates. You might up into your carbohydrate intake. So you have to be able to look at history and how we used to eat back in the days. Because back in the days, we didn't have the amount of foods that we have, as choices that we have now. Now you can find food like less than 3 blocks away from your house, or less than a mile away from your house. So you have to remind yourself that this is necessary for you to be able to help your body, to make sure that you're in the long term for longevity factor, for making sure that you are constantly providing the best options for your body in the long term for sustainability. Let's go back a little bit again. So 50 years ago or 60 years ago, our food supply was not in a cans more than they are now. They're not in this gooey liquid that you have to preserve this food in a long term. I mean, in some ways, I utilize some cans of foods, but they have a specific thing that inside with them liquid that preserve the food in the long term for longevity of the food, and in some way and another kind of necessary. But then we have the boxes of the foods and plastic bags in the shelves for a very long time that you gotta question, is it good for my body? Is it good for that longevity factor that I'm looking for? So for a beginner, for somebody who is brand new to exercise and never worked out, and somebody who is being stuck on work and never give yourself a time to think about your health, this is the part where it's necessary to understand. It's gonna go into a slow pace to progress, to get the most out of your healthy lifestyle. Because what happens is, what I notice a lot is that most individuals are overweight, and because of stress levels, and they are stressed out from work, they're stressed out from life, they're stressed out from, and so those are factors that creates the body to be so unhealthy. And you're not exercising, and you're not finding the best time for you to eat, because you're constantly eating late at night, you're constantly eating super early, and so you're trying to understand to which is the best time for me to eat. Well, give yourself a time frame for your body to, first of all, still digesting the food from you had the day before. Let's just say, for example, I eat yesterday, last meal I had at 6 p.m. in the afternoon, right? So it is now closer to 11 o'clock in the morning. So, and one of the things I tell people is like, look, I'm 17 hours of fasting, or 15 hours of fasting, but you name it. So I have given my body a break for all that digestion, for the insulin spike, but I'm satisfied on the last meal. Having the last meal was satisfying enough that my body was going to take all these nutrients and all this good stuff that I ate from the day before. I'm still trying to maintain hydration, so I can make sure that I get the most out of my day, because body fat store, the fat that is in your body that you have gained overall in the past, it's in store, it's in storage, it's there for a reason. It's not there for looks, it's there for a reason, so that way you can need to burn that fat that's in store. Your lean mass, your muscles in your body are there, and it's going to preserve, it's going to maintain, because the first thing the body is not stupid. We're gonna understand this, and I want you to understand this, that your body is going to utilize that stored body fats and energy source. But because you're exercising and because you're pulling and pushing, you name it, you are going to preserve that lean body mass. And so that body is going to utilize that stored body fat from the day before, and utilize what's in store. And the more prolonged your fasting protocol is, and your fasting time frame, the more the body's going to ramp up and utilize what's in store, because once again, it's not there for looks, it's there to be utilized for a reason. So that way your body is constantly making sure that you are eating the best stuff as far as your proteins, your essential fats. So the better stuff that you provide to your body, then your body is going to respond to get rid of toxicity. We talk about ketosis when the first 16 to 18 hours of fasting, your body's going to start switching the energy source and start utilizing what's in store. So we're talking about autophagy. I'm pretty sure if you haven't heard of it, autophagy, but then there's a lot of benefits that you get from that prolonged fast. But the only thing that I remind to everybody, you might have a little headache, make sure you're hydrating all through the day. It's consistency of the beginning of a new stage of switching the way you eat, the time you eat. It's not what you eat, it's what time you eat, but the better you eat, the better results you get, because at the end of the day, you're trying to get rid of this stored body fat. It's not, once again, it's not there for looks, it's there for a reason. Jokingly, and I'm not gonna say this, is just in case we go into World War III and there's no food available anywhere, that body fat is gonna keep you alive for a reason. So that's why is to prepare and make sure that you have enough from foods available to you, is to make sure it's a store there for a reason. So as a brand new person who is jumping into intermittent fasting, or fasting is a tool that's been utilized for thousands of years. This is nothing new. This is nothing new at all. This is something is the Incas, the Mayas, the Egyptians, and so in the history of many historians has shown that fasting is the way to be able to help the body to get the most out of your protocol. And so maybe you're constantly working all day and you're the busiest time. You might as well wait until noontime to get your first meal. Maybe you have to be able to eat. I recommend to eat earlier than later than in the afternoon, late at night, because it makes a huge difference in the long term for your body, for digestion. And it because you gotta go to sleep, because you need to rest. You need to make sure you give that time frame for the body to just digest and drop that insulin, so that you can go back into the fastest state again at nighttime. Because Once again, that stored body fat is not there for looks. It's obviously, I have different pictures of myself where I have gone fasting for a specific amount of times, a specific amount of hours. I do 72 hours for myself. I'm 45 years old. I'm turning 46 this year. And the only thing I'm looking for is for longevity factor. Building muscle is just something that just it happens because you're pushing the body to the next level all the time, pushing weights, picking up weights, exercising, changing your exercise programs, changing your hydration intake in a constant basis. So just remember that this is necessary in order for you to maintain and build yourself up in a constant basis in order to help the body to maintain the health factor, the energy factor. So you have to be able to understand that you skipping breakfast is trust me, is probably the best way to start your intermittent fasting protocol, and trying to skip dinner so late, because that's the only way to the body to start creating friction with your melatonin secretion from your brain. So remember, your brain will secrete melatonin secretion somewhere at the sunset time. And one of the things that I tell people is like, look, the body needs to rest. The body needs those 8 to 9 hours of sleep. It's necessary in order for you to be able to start burning what's in store. And so once again, use the stored body fat for energy. That's what it's for. And the lower your body fat intake, the better in the long term. So that way you can be able to see the difference, the results are there. And so this is not, once again, this is not something new. This is just, we are practicing. I'm practicing fasting every single day, Monday through Friday. I only have a 1 hour window, kind of sort of like all my lifestyle. My lifestyle Monday through Friday is all my lifestyle. Saturdays and Sundays, I'm more flexible where I can eat in a 4 hour window. So you have to start reducing the amount of hours you're eating. Not the amount of food you're eating, but the amount of time frame you're eating. So the smaller the window, the better your body will react to burn that stored body fat. So the stored body fat is for us to utilize as an energy. So once again, you need to build in that lean muscle mass because you already have muscle. We need to start working on a strength training program that is going to change on a constant basis, because the last thing, and the body does this, the reason why I do 72 hours is because the body will hit plateau. By changing the way your windows of eating, your body will not hit plateau. That by changing the exercise programs, your body will not hit plateau. And by changing constantly formats on a weekly basis, your body will not hit plateau. And this is one of the things that I explain to every single client and every single person that asks me for advice of, how am I be able to burn this body fat? How am I be able to lose this skin? And now something I want to jump into is the loose skin thing that a lot of people ask, why am I lost so much weight and now have a loose skin? Well, there is benefits of fasting that can freaking change the way your body looks. But the longer you take, let's just say you're overweight right now, but the longer you take to stay in this overweight factor and this overweight feel and this being overweight, is the longer your body's gonna take time to repair. The body's trying to repair every single day. It's trying to repair the damage. If you got a little scar, like you cut yourself and you had a little scar, the body is repairing automatically. The following day you have a scar, and then you start taking it out because the scar doesn't look so good, right? Same thing, the body from the inside out is trying to repair every single little thing about your body, from the brain to the lungs to your liver, to everything in your body is trying to be repaired. So when you're fasting, the body is repairing. When you're sleeping, the body is repairing. The body is getting the energy when it's being in a store. The stored body fat is there for a reason. So the more body fat you have, that's going to take some time to be able to be burned. So just be mindful that these things are something that it just progressively If you haven't been active, you're gonna gain weight. And if you just sedentary, you're gonna gain weight. But the more active you are, the more things you do at home, the more things you do in the office, and you stay and find a window, which I think is the best. Maybe you want to break your fast around 11 o'clock, but finish it out by 4 or 3 o'clock because you want to go to the gym in the afternoon. If you want to come in and work out at the beginning of the day and finish it out way earlier. So remember that this is important for you to be able to be consistent again and again in order to be able to lose the stored body fat you have gained. It's not that you just gain body fat only, but there's inflammation related to this amount of weight you have gained. Yes, everything is a process. Everything has to be started from somewhere. But be mindful. Learn from the past that there's so much information from the past that right now can be utilized here at this moment, in the future, in the long term for longevity. So with that said, guys, I'm gonna step out of here. If you don't have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me at fasterhuman@gmail.com, or you can be able to message me on Instagram, Facebook, you name it. Don't forget to subscribe, Faster Human here on YouTube, and so is give me a review. We're thankful and grateful for the review on for YouTube, guys, to be able to check it out here in my Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, is source in Spotify. So just remember to be able to send me a message if you have any questions. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.